everyone, and welcome to episode 87 of the Social Liability Podcast, the podcast where we discuss those folks in our lives that violate the social contracts that we all agree to live by. I am your host, the Razgrees, with my co-host, the Buck Rowdy, bringing you new and interesting stories from the far reaches of the internet. And this is the second episode of our new abbreviated format. So we got little few less stories, but we're going to try to elaborate on them as much as we can. And Buck, there is a story that if you want to make sure that a story gets put on the show, you put a story in the feed about one particular subject. I guarantee you, I'm going to pick it. And I think everyone knows what that is by now. That is North Korea. I love me stories about North Korea. especially the Jong family, because they are so much fun if you're not a North Korean.
Well, I mean, like, we should just unofficially rename North Korea the land of liabilities. I mean, because everything that this man does ends up on the Social Liability Podcast.
I mean, the guy is a liability for the world. Let's not make light of that fact. But the dear God,
that's the dick and dictator.
Okay, you know what? Yeah, you get that one. Get the rim shot.
Yep.
So this story is not about Kim Jong Il. This story is about Kim Jong II. He was the General Secretary of the Workers' Party of Korea from 1941 till 2011. What?
It's Kim Jong Il.
Is it?
Yeah,
it is. It is. Okay. It's all capitalized on my screen, so.
I you know what? I didn't know that until a YouTube video corrected me very recently. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, yes, Buck Rowdy knows all. No. I learned that shit from the internet, and I'm just passing on that knowledge to you. It is Kim Jong Il.
Nope, you're absolutely right, because later on down here in the article, it doesn't have it capitalized, so I see it. I made a mistake. Well, this is coming from one of their propaganda videos. In a propaganda video from 10 News, a street food stand outside of the Kumsong food factory in Pyongyang was selling wheat wraps to people, including children and soldiers. More shots displayed an industrial kitchen with trays full of filling, which appeared to contain vegetables like cabbage and carrots. Spinning meat resembling an El Pastor trompo could also be seen in some shots. It is unclear who in North Korea had access to the burrito-adjacent wheat wraps. North Koreans have historically faced food shortages, with the COVID pandemic increasing food instability in the country. Farming issues and vulnerability to climate change may create additional problems for the people there. While the more precise origins of the burrito are undetermined, they are known to have originated somewhere in Mexico and have existed since the 1990s, growing popular in the U.S. in the 1950s. So there's not a whole lot to the article there, but the fact that in the propaganda video, which, it's kind of hard for me to really relate, they're talking about, all the great things from North Korea, and it has the picture of Kim Jong Il, in this mural outside of one of their government buildings. And the claim is that in this kitchen is where Kim Jong Il created the burrito. I forget which one was it, Kim Jong Il or Kim Jong Un, that created the pizza.
I don't know. I just don't. Yeah, I can't even keep up with the fucking absurdity of that whole shitstorm of a country.
Yeah, this is the same country that banned leather jackets because the Kim Jong-un likes leather jackets and wears them. So people are going to start copying his fashion style. So leather jackets are now banned for anybody except Kim Jong-un. I mean, the absurdity of everything that comes out of that country is just... And I know most North Koreans realize that they're oppressed. They're completely being brainwashed by their government. But there are people out there that legitimately think that North Korea is not so bad. You have celebrities from the United States going over there and becoming friends with Kim Jong Un. Looking at you, Dennis Rodman, and others for that matter. And there's people that still take clandestine what's the word, vacations to North Korea. Americans are forbidden from going to North Korea, but if you go to China, you can take the train to North Korea, and people do. Um, you wouldn't catch my ass in North Korea. Let me tell you that right now. as many
No
as
way.
as much as I like watching the documentaries and laughing at the absurd propaganda that gets put out, you wouldn't catch me dead in that country. No, sir. I had the shit scared out of me in China. I can't imagine going to North Korea where they don't give a shit about diplomatic relations.
Oh man, I was watching a YouTube video about a lady who defected from North Korea, and she was talking about like shit that she didn't even know existed. And she's like, the number one thing that I found when I came to the United States after defecting from North Korea was tampons. And I
Seriously?
was just sitting there my mind blew. Like, I'm not a woman. I don't have to deal with this,
Thank God.
with menstruation and things. You're damn skippy, dude. I'll fucking keep my MS. Keep it. Yeah. Mm-mm. No. But so, and then having to deal with that without even like sanitary napkins or feminine hygiene products. And I was just sitting there thinking to myself, how can you go through, how did you not know this existed? And then she explained it further. The concept of using something just one time doesn't exist to them over there. Like, that's not on their radar. Like, that's how fucking poor and destitute they are. Like, one time, like, seriously, you're only going to use that once and then do what? Throw it away? Are you nuts? Like, that's their thought over there. So, like, Q-tips, tampons, stuff like that, paper plates. When she saw people throwing plates in the trash, like, she was explaining, she was like, so it's not hard to believe that, yeah, I'm going off topic here about this. I'm starting to sound like I'm doing a fundraiser, but it's just amazing and almost appalling. Well, not even almost. It is appalling about, the level of shit that this regime has pulled over there. And then claiming that you invent the burrito.
I love
Like,
that. I love how he always claims it's not even just him. It was his father before him, always claiming that they
yeah.
invented something. Those ones make me giggle. They really do.
Well, I mean, it's like, where in the Korean, like, language would we find a root to the word burrito? Like, I don't speak North Korean.
Well, they're
I'm
called wheat.
no I'm
They're calling them wheat wraps.
Oh, wheat wraps.
Yeah, those are
Oh.
wheat wraps, but
So,
it's a burrito.
okay. Okay. I see what he did there. Oh, clever there, Kim. Oh, clever. Just rename the whole. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, oh yeah. This is no this thing I'm holding here. This bottle of nicotine juice for my e-cig is no longer a bottle. It's a vessel. I invented it.
And
Yeah. Okay.
it contains happy juice.
Yeah, it's stress relieving elixir in my vessel. I invented it. How do you feel about this? Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, we can insert a hearty guffaw and a chortle all in the same track now. All right, so good old Kim and the whole frickin' dynasty of North Korea gets a 5, as always.
As always, automatically. Everything from the Kim family automatically gets a 5. It just does. All right, Buck, we're going to take a turn. I'm not sure if we've covered this story or not, but it's a little bit of a follow-up. This is coming from policetribune.com. Dayton, Ohio. Investigator clears cops who dragged paraplegic man by his hair. Dayton police announced on Monday that investigations into the officer's use of force against a paraplegic suspect whom they pulled from his car by his dreadlocks did not violate department policies. The incident occurred on September 30th, 2021, with Dayton police officers stopping Clifford Owensby's vehicle when they observed him driving away from a known drug house. Dayton Police Major Police John said in a statement that officers called for a narcotics K-9 unit to do a free air sniff of the vehicle for drugs, based on Owensby's past felony drug and weapons history. Dayton police policy requires that occupants of the vehicle to exit for their own safety and the safety of the canine officer to perform this free air sniff. Body cam video from the incident showed officers told Owensby he would have to get out of the vehicle while the canine searched the car, and the driver told them he couldn't. "I can't step out," Owensby said. "I'm a paraplegic." The officers told the driver they would help him out of the car, but Owensby said he didn't want to be touched and requested that a police supervisor be called to the scene. The video showed that the officers told Owensby that they would call a supervisor after he was out of the car. "So you can cooperate and get out of the car, or I would drag you out of the car. You see your two options," the police officer told Owensby in the video. Body cam video shows Owensby repeatedly yelling at the officers that he was going to hurt. That he was going to hurt him. Oh, he was referring to I'm gonna get hurt. Okay, yeah, gotcha. When he refused to allow the officers to help him out of the vehicle, the body cam shows an officer reach in and grab Owensby by his arm and dragged him from the vehicle. Then the video showed the officers grab Owensby by his hair and dragged him onto the pavement and pinned him to the ground. "They dragged me to their vehicle like a dog, like trash. It was a total humiliation," Owensby told reporters at a press conference in October of 2021. The video showed the officers had hoisted him up under his arms and dragged him to the police video. Major John said the paraplegic man was taken to the hospital and examined for possible injuries and released. Police searched Owensby's vehicle and found $22,450 inside. He told the police the money was his savings. The police report showed Owensby was charged with obstructing official business and resisting arrest. But Dayton Municipal Court visiting judge Patricia Cosgrove only found Owensby guilty of a window tint and child restraint violation and fined the driver $150 for each count. Owensby's attorney, James Willis, announced plans to file a civil lawsuit after his client was sentenced. "It's against the law to drive with tinted windows. Nobody disputes that. When you put a kid in the car, there's a certain type of seat you are supposed to put him in, and he didn't do that. So he should be punished. We have no problems with that, and he's prepared to pay the fines. But that's not an invitation for you to beat him up. The man's a paraplegic." Dayton Police Chief Kamran Afzal released the results of the internal investigation on January 10th and explained that neither officer had violated the police department's use of force policy when they arrested Owensby. Activists have demanded an apology from the police, but Chief Afzal said that wasn't the right solution to the problem. "If you want people, we want the people to, if you have an issue with our officers' behavior, you have so many different ways in the city to make a complaint." The recently sworn-in police chief told reporters, quote, "Don't make a scene at the time that the law of the land gives the officers in the United States ability to effect that stop." Chief Afzal said that police officers had violated the Dayton Police's body cam video policy when they shut off their body cameras after they put Owensby in the back of the police vehicle. He said the officers were given a memorandum of training for stopping the cameras and said that he had requested a review of body cam training and policies. Police chief said that he planned to work with the city's legal department to make changes to the policy as needed. The department will continue to look for ways to improve officer training. Continued education in this profession is not only required but imperative to ensure that you are equipped to deliver the service of public safety to all those who live and work in Dayton. He also said the Americans with Disabilities Act training had been scheduled for all the officers and that an attorney would be hired to help monitor the department's compliance. Newly sworn Dayton Major Jeffrey Mims Jr. wasn't happy with any of that. "We can do better, and I'm committed to working with Dayton and working to strengthen the community-police relationship," Mims said in a statement. Buck, you go first. You're muted there, Bucky. You're going to want to unmute that microphone.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. I can't get off of one little detail in this one. Like, were the police justified in asking him to get out of the car? Like, from the get-go, was their request for him to step out of the vehicle, like, within their scope? Did they have a good reason for that?
It's their policy.
I understand that. So it's their policy to have somebody get out of the car.
Okay, so what they'll say, and what they did say, it's for officer and suspect's safety. It's bullshit. It's they use it as an excuse to get you out of the vehicle. That's what it is.
Okay.
I've worked with police dogs. Never had one assigned to me other than the canine we mentioned in the last episode that was going to be for drug interdiction. But I've never had one that was used for this type of purpose. Never one like, out on the street, quote. But you in most cases, I've never seen anybody have to be removed from the vehicle in order for the dog to do an open air sniff. An open air sniff is literally where they walk the dog around the car in a circle.
Right.
Now, me personally, I have a huge issue with police dogs. Police dogs in general they're on their way out and they need to go. There's no need for them anymore, and the current state of police dogs in this country they're being obsolete. In the state of Colorado, they've pretty much been the courts have pretty much said that they're useless now and you can't use them for anything because the entire force of police dogs are all trained to search for marijuana, and most places have marijuana laws that make it legal. So you have this problem with that, but also, and I can tell you this matter of factly. It's bullshit. Having the dog, well, the dog indicated. Well, what's the dog do? Does the dog go, hey, psst, there's pot in that car? No, the dog does something that the handler recognizes, but only the handler. There's no, and they can just say, yeah, the dog did something. Well, you don't find it. Okay, well, the dog was wrong. How many what's the average? Does the dog have to hit 90% of the time or it gets retired? No, they just keep using it. And you can use a dog to just get somebody out of a car if you want them out of a car. With their policy, it is they're just looking for a reason to get this person out of the car. He left a drug house. They knew who he was. They pulled him over for the tint. That was just a reason to pull him over. It wasn't, we're going to pull somebody over because they have tint. No, they were looking for a reason to pull him over.
Right.
They found one, and then they wanted to get him out of the vehicle. So we're going to bring the dog over. It's complete and utter bullshit. Now I've actually now on the flip side of it, I've actually seen the video from the body cam, and it's kind of hard to show on a podcast, but the guy was a dick. I mean, a lot of this is probably because he was such an asshole.
Right. And see, that's where I wanted to go with this, because if the cops had a good reason to pull him out of the car and he's like, and then he wanted to persist and be like, fuck you, no. Well, problem with the way the whole thing went down then, But sounds to me like this guy, like, it's a comedy of errors. Like the police officers really shouldn't have done what they did, and then this guy shouldn't have behaved that way.
I've seen the story when it first broke, when it first happened, not back when it originally happened. The guy was a dick, and the whole thing was he didn't have his wheelchair with him. Okay, didn't have his wheelchair with him because he thought he was going to make an errand, come back, boom, and his chair was left at his home. So he had nothing to transfer into. So the whole we're going to help you out of the car and do what? Carry him?
No, and see that I have a freaking problem with. Nobody puts their hands on like, you got to have training and know-how to do the laying upon of hands for somebody with a disability. They can't just manhandle them, McGill gorilla them wherever the fuck you think they should go.
And here's the whole thing: even when you had to expedite it for whatever reason, you still need to have the knowledge and to do that. But in this particular instance, he's pulled over. The vehicle's secured. They can stand right there. He's not gonna run away. So the whole thing about there was no reason they had to expedite everything. They could have very easily have said, "Can we have somebody go get your wheelchair?" Or they could have said, "Can you call someone to bring your wheelchair?" There's many things they could have done. They could have called an ambulance. They could have called an ambulance, and the EMTs could have done their job. But no, they had this because the guy was an asshole. They were being assholes, and they all had to see whose dick was bigger. That's what it came down to. They were all measuring their goddamn
comedy
dicks.
of errors.
And typically the guy in the wheelchair is gonna lose.
I can tell you from personal experience, the guy in the wheelchair normally loses. I can. It just really happens that way
So in this
in most
instance,
cases.
but I think what we're rating on this, and tell me if you think I'm wrong. These internal investigations, well, they violated no policies. Fuck you. They screwed up and you know it. Just admit it. God damn. This is why
No,
people hate police now, because they never admit that they're wrong. If you show yourself as being the bigger person, like every time I interact with somebody or interacted with somebody in a capacity where I have authority, I am the most sickeningly nice person you've ever met. I am disgustingly sweet because I don't know where cameras are at. So I'm not going to be an asshole because the moment I say one thing, like, well, fuck you. That's the clip that's going on YouTube, folks. That's the one. But in this particular instance, everybody's a dickhead. Now, if they had shown a video of them saying, "Well, sir, we have to do this. How can we help you? Can we get the chair here? Can we send someone to get it? We'll call an ambulance. Can you tell us how to safely do this?" With him being a dick that he was, oh my God, they would have looked like $1 million. They would have looked like $1 million.
Really would have.
But instead, they got their fucking feelings hurt and decided, well, respect my authority, and drug him out of the car.
Yeah, and how hard is it to move somebody who really can't move? Like it's like shooting fish in a barrel. Like why don't you just go punch a kid once you're done? Manhandling a guy who can't even, come on. You're right. Good manners, they don't cost a fucking dime, but they could save your life. They could save your job. I mean, like, all just because you disagree doesn't mean you need to be disagreeable. Like, let's
leave it at that. And in this particular instance, I'm going to give the police review board and the chief the big old 5.
Yep.